Okay, so this week I'm going to show you how to create a multicam video sequence and how to edit it using Adobe Premiere. This is using the latest version. If you don't have the latest version, it might be slightly different. Start off opening Premiere, open a new project, call this something useful that you'll remember. Don't just leave it as a default or call it something ridiculous. Multicam test edit, that'll do. I know where I'm saving it. Yeah, I do. It's cool. Leave the rest of these blank generally. Okay. And your Premiere window should look something like this. If it doesn't, make sure you've got the editing tab selected there, or go to Window Workspace and select editing. Okay, so it should look something like this. In your project window down here, you should notice by now, double click that, import your media, or you can also drag the media in from Finder or Windows Explorer using Windows. I'm going to select my audio track, which has to be an M4A track here, so it might be WAV, might be MP3, I'm not sure, it's up to you what you're using. And my two video tracks. These are M4V files, saved both off mobile phones. But yours may be another kind of video wrapper, so a MOV or using Sony cams in university, it's the AVC HD wrappers, So I'm going to import that. If you're using the Sony cameras, you may have a little dialog box going, can't import these, just say yes, it's okay. They'll open up another folder with them, go into that folder, somewhere in there you'll find your video files. So, there's two ways to, or more than one, two really, but ideally there's two different ways that you'll probably be able to create a multicam clip. Now, in an ideal situation, you'll have your video and your audio track, and your video tracks will also have the audio track to them. Okay, and you also ideally made some sort of marker point before filming, or so as you start filming, everything's rolling, audio's rolling, camera's rolling. You want to clap, you want a clapperboard sort of thing. And ideally you want the cameras to see that, because if the audio fails on one of the cameras, you can at least see that marker point. Don't worry if you haven't, sure there's ways we can work around it. Ideally, if it's all work done, you've got decent audio on your tracks, you sort of, there's audio on that, I'm happy, that's my audio track, it's got audio, great. You should be able to select all three tracks, right click, create multi-camera source sequence, and here it's asking what your synchronized point is. So Premiere wants to know how am I connecting these up. Got a few different options. If you've got audio and you think it's all good, click audio, leave these as they are. Sequence presets, usually it sorts itself out, but if you've got particular video size you want to use, there's a lot of options, so it may just be more confusing than leaving automatic. Click OK, and you end up with a multicam sequence there. I'll show you how to edit that in a sec. Now, it's possible you haven't got decent audio on your video tracks and you haven't managed to video the clap. So, say I was importing my footage again. What you need to do is see if there's a point in the video that you know will correlate on the other video, and ideally with your external audio. So if I imagine this video hasn't got any audio, I know for instance that instead of a clap at the beginning, I tapped, if I can find it, I tapped the screen. So I know I'm using audio as the kind of marker here really, so I know that point is my tap. So I'm going to, you've got two options. You can either set this as an in point by pressing I, or that little mark in there. The other option is to right click and add a marker. Okay, I've not really looked at markers before, but they're another way, especially when you're editing things in the sequence, maybe to music, you can see visually where things are without editing anything necessarily. So I could have gone for an in point, but I've gone for a marker on this one. I'm going to do the same on the other video track. So I'm going to find that point. So if I was doing it completely visual, I probably would have gone for that point as the sort of hit. But generally, if you're one frame off between the two tracks, so you can't quite work out if it's exactly the same bit, it doesn't matter. But I am using my absolute sort of tap as that final marker, but I could have used that one and the other one. Maybe if it was a frame or two off, it's not going to be the end of the world. But I'm lucky enough to have an audio, so again, I could make that an in point, or whatever you're doing. If you're adding markers or adding an in point, make sure it's the same across all your media. And I'm going to do the same for the audio track as well. I think that's it there. There we go, that bit. So I'm going to right click, add a marker. No, these have all got markers now. They could all have endpoints. Doesn't matter, but I'm going to select my video track, my audio track, create multicam sequence source. So I can't use audio anymore because I don't think the audio is good enough on the video, for instance. If I'd selected endpoints, I could go there, but I'm going to go for clip marker. That means I'll have the whole clip to play with then as well once I import them into the sequence. So I'll use that. Click OK. It's created this sequence here with that little thing. There's a multi-camera source sequence. And I'm going to drag that into my sequence window. Great. Now, I'm just going to expand that just because. Now, this audio is kind of an amalgamation of the this audio and video audio. If I want to make sure I've got my separate audio track, I can always bring that in separately. Okay, and that seems to be quite good. That's fine. Just mute that top one there. So I know this audio is my best audio. I'm going to keep with that. Now, in order to edit multicam sequence, it's quite easy. Just make sure, go up to settings, choose multi-camera. So the settings in the monitor window here. Now this is my main monitor, that's what the edit will look like. And here I've got two views, okay? So each one of these is my two cameras. So if I've got 4 cameras, there'll be 4 up, and so on and so on. Now I'm going to press play, and I'll probably see that one of the cameras gets switched on first. Boom. Then I turn the other camera on. I'm rolling. Do my marker point. Okay, now if I choose this, that's the camera that's being viewed. If I cut between these two views, you can see the view in that main window there. And as you choose and switch between these two camera views, that's going to be edited in real time. So you can't say anything yet, and don't try and stop anything, so keep it playing and just kind of edit real time. Chop and change. Chop, chop. Okay, so it's not the most exciting performance video, me playing on a DS, but get the idea. I'd like to do the whole video. I'm going to stop there though, just so you can see what's going on. And as you can see, it's chopped up my video. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to turn off multicam, go back to composite video in this main window, so that I don't get confused. I know that's exactly what I'm seeing as I'm working. Cool. And when you're editing, what you can do, if you're thinking, oh, this is kind of a rough cut, you can go in using the rolling edit tool, or N, and you can go in here and start moving things around a little bit. Okay, so it means you're not losing the synchronicity anyway, not losing that sync, but it means you can make sure you've got your endpoints in different places where you think they might be better placed. Don't try and use any of the other edit tools, sort of start putting these around and rearranging them, also that's going to knock everything out of sync. Okay? Now if you're happy with that, job's a good one. Now, what you may find is your two angles, if you use very different cameras, or the lighting's not quite right, you may think, oh, actually the colour balance isn't quite the same, so I think this one feels a bit cooler, possibly, than that, so it's a bit warmer, a bit more orange, and it's a bit sort of colder, certainly my fingers a little bit purple. So, to do some basic colour correction, there's a few different options. You can go into effects. If I choose bring up my effect controls here rather, and bring up my effects down here. There are various colour correction tools here. I'm not going to go through them all now, but I'm going to show you another sort of route which will make sense. And there's also here a new thing in Premiere called Colour, and that brings up some more professional grade colouring solutions. So in order to use this, go to the clip that you're this point that you want to change the colour to, and let me think what we do. So I quite like that blue cool colour, so I'm going to try and make this one a slightly more blue cool sort of shade. There are a load of separate presets in here. Some of them are quite cool, quite like some of the film ones at least. They look quite authentic and very sort of, they do sort of up the quality a little bit. There's a lot of more cheesy ones in there. So feel free to have a flip through those, or can you do it sort of the more old school way. We've got some colour wheels. Now, in the effects panel there's some with maybe 3 colour wheels, there's a few different colour wheels, so do just have an explore, don't be afraid. But the principle's the same. You usually get a shadow and a highlight to be able to tint and change the colour. So, I'm going for more bluey colour here, and generally speaking you want so just have a play around, just move it around until you see something that looks about right. Going a bit more. Cool, so that's the view there I want to be looking at. Okay, so that's the original, that's the menu view. That's showing me, it's going through the presets. I can turn around for some saturation. Coolness down, there we go, so that's much cooler than that original view. If I go to here, it doesn't feel too out of place, but I might just add a bit more in the highlights where the yellow on the S is. I might bring it into blue. I'm quite happy with that. Now, if I go back into editing a sec, what I find is I've done those 2 clips, but now my other clips aren't quite the same, which isn't great, but you can easily copy and paste. So if you go into your effect controls here, and you can do this through any effect actually, you can just select, so I can select the clip and select Lumetti colouring, which is the colour I've been playing with, copy that, I can go to another clip of the same, paste it, and you see that changes. And the same then for that one, copy that, and I can paste that where I want it. Now, what ideally you might well want to do that to your individual, I can't find my project. You might want to do that to individual clips before you bring them into a multicam, so you make sure each of those coloured similarly and they look right. Your other option is if you think overall the colour balance is the same, you just want to add some crazy cool colouring effects, you could just select the whole lot and create a subsequence. This subsequence here is effectively the same as this, but it's treated as a complete clip. So if I hid my bottom video there, that's the only one that exists now. And now I could go in and do some extra colouring or effects in there. So I could go into colour correction, for instance. I'll show you what the other colour correctors look like. So if I go to three-way colour converter, for instance, you get a similar thing to before. So you've got shadows, probably a bit more powerful, but yeah, you can see if you're not subtle about it, it's quite a quite a blast. You can really sort of screw it up. But you know, you might want a weird, crazy effect. So I want to do that. I wouldn't ever do that, but you know, you get the idea. I'm not going to go into color correcting right now, as it's a whole sort of art in itself. But as a rule, I would sort of have a play around. There's a lot of really good tutorials online. What you might want to think about is certainly for more filmic looks, a real quick and easy way. You'll notice this next time you're watching a movie or a modern TV show that's trying to be more filmic. Have a look at the sort of shadows. You'll notice they do dip into the blues. You'll notice you get used to watching movies and you think, oh, it looks really like real life. But really have a look. You'll notice a lot of the shadows, the dark colours, they're quite bluey, and often a lot of the highlights and the lighter areas are sort of a bit more golden, a bit more orange, and that's sort of a very typical blue and orange look that a lot of movies do. I think it's going a little more out of fashion now. Things are starting to look a bit more, I suppose, more 60s and more filmic again. But certainly a couple of years ago, things like the original Iron Man, for instance, maybe Iron Man 2, Avengers, really blue and orange sort of gold colours, really quite strong. But you don't notice it when you're watching it. It's sort of part of the immersive experience. And colour can be quite a powerful tool with your video. Okay, I think that makes sense. Oh, another quick thing as well. Think about what you might happen is with your two different cameras. If one is darker than the other, then so I'm just going to delete that subsequence a sec. So if one of your videos is darker than the other, you might want to go in and edit the curves or the levels of the clip. Best way to do that might be going for image control. Sorry, just need to. Okay, again, color correction, sorry. And I'd go for, let's go for curve. So see what the Luma curve does, double click that. And you get a little box like this. You see as you pull down in the bottom end, the blacks will get richer. And up there, the whites start to pop out as well. So you can get some real weird blown out, almost sort of cartoony look going on if you wanted. But generally I'd use this for making sure that both say you had a really dark clip, you might want to lighten it up a little bit, and likewise if it was all blown out, you might want to see if you can save some of the details by bringing it down a bit there. Okay, I think that will make sense. Do feel free to sort of have another look through the beginning of this video, especially importing that footage. That's the real crux of this. Yeah, good luck with your multicam editing. Thank you. Bye.